All right, we'll go ahead and get started in just a second. Give some folks a chance to jump on if they're going to. And we'll go ahead and just start by looking at the box. So this is Monkey Kid set 80036. This is the City of Lanterns set. This is definitely the one that I've been the most excited about, and I think the one that most folks have been the most excited about in terms of hype level for this latest series of Monkey Kid sets. Basically, I was seeing the designer of the set on Twitter. He was talking about his inspiration to create this set, and I thought I'd bring out one of the little mini buildings that they've been making for some of the Monkey Kid sets. Here's the little mini building that you build alongside the Monkey King mech, and you can tell that it's a very different style of building than what we're used to seeing with a lot of Lego sets. They're kind of sort of like slightly more detailed versions of what you get in the Lego City theme. They're kind of, they have a really, I think, detailed facade on the front. Like, it's really detailed in terms of actually looking like a tiny little version of a full-size building. There's a lot of really good sticker detail on these, but then when you go to the back, they're just open. So, it's less about these, perfectly enclosed buildings that then you open up and have to get to it like a certain way or detach them. It's more about just these little detailed mini dioramas that happen to look pretty good as their own standalone buildings. So I think that's where a lot of the magic is for these. And I'm really excited because the designer on Twitter, as I was saying earlier, said that basically because, he and the Monkey Kid team had been making a lot of these, that they wanted to do a set that just focused on a city full of things like this. And honestly, you can't tell me that fan reaction didn't have a lot to do with this set getting greenlit, because I know that the fan reaction was huge to these like little mini buildings. So I really think that that's your number one reason why the City of Lanterns set even came to pass, because there's not really a set quite like it in terms of the Monkey Kid line. I think the closest there's been was the legendary Flower Fruit Mountain set, because it's just a location set. It's not like based on a vehicle. And that's really what we have here. This is a pure location set. It's not based on any kind of vehicle. And, there's some vehicles in it, but it's not like they're a focal point of the whole thing. All right. We'll go ahead and open the box live. We might as well. And this box is so huge, I couldn't even fit it all on camera a second ago, as you may have noticed. It just wasn't happening, so that's okay. We'll make it work. For now, it'll just look like that I'm live streaming I don't know, a video of a fake sky background. I don't know, maybe somebody joins up, they'll think that maybe I'm going to start reading poetry or something. Oh, all right. Ooh, finally got this thing cracked open. Let's see. Oh, and it comes with, as is the case with most of the Monkie Kid sets, a giant file folder full of booklets and stickers and everything. I'm really glad they're doing this, by the way. The reason why is that it's so easy for all that stuff to get messed up and damaged and folded and creased, and especially the stickers. It's one of my least favorite things in these big Lego sets, when the stickers get all kind of munched up and stuck between pieces. It's really, really miserable. All right, let's go ahead. Let's see what we got in here. Maybe a golden ticket or something. You never know. All right, let's see what else. Yep, sticker sheet. Oh, sticker sheet. Yeah. It feels like every time I see one of these, I'm staring down an enemy. It's like, sticker sheet. We meet again. As you guys know, my relationship with Lego stickers is tenuous at best. Honestly, these seem a little more, I don't know, they're a little more glossy, a little more plasticky. Maybe that means that they're a little more durable. They almost feel like those, what were they called? Color forms? Like those little color forms you'd stick on things. I remember having Batman Returns color forms and just thinking that they were so cool. All right, let's go ahead and see what the books are like. Looks like we got book 2 right here, and it's the size of a young adult novel. And here we got book number 1. And I knew that couldn't be all there was to the stickers, because, man, this thing... Okay, this might be more stickers than I have ever gotten with a single set, because, look, not only did we have this that we looked at earlier, we've got this one, and we got this one. So I think these are color separated. I really do. I think that this is more your reds and browns here. This is more your pinks, and this is more, and like I said, these feel different. These are like your white decals that just happen to have one other color on them, or at least it seems that way, or 2 colors or something. But I do think there's something there about the separation. Whew, there's going to be a lot of stickering going on, friends. Hope you're ready to see me have a heart attack live on the stream here. So it's all right. It's okay. Now, sometimes you open these up, and I'm going to make, I know that the City of Lanterns is a lot bigger set than, say, the Jerry's Apartment set that we live streamed. And that seemed so quick and so breezy putting that together. And that was just such a nice change of pace. Well, I thought to myself, if I'm going to do a giant set like this live streaming, I'm going to change a few things about it. For one thing, we're going to be tremendously more casual with this. I have no idea in previous times when I've live streamed, and maybe it's just because I wasn't used to it, but I don't know, felt like I was on the clock or something, like I was trying to fight to get done with it just as quick as I could, and I have no idea where that came from. I think it'd be more enjoyable for everybody if we just kind of have a good time, take your time, talk, all that good stuff. Whoa, and that was the sound of a bazillion bags being poured out of this thing. All right. Now, in my neck of the woods, we are covered with snow currently. And we got, I think, about 7 inches or so outside, almost 8, I guess, in a few places where it's some drifts. And I'm wondering how much of the U.S. that is. I don't know if it's just the southeast where I'm located, or if it's a lot more widespread, but I'd say it's more of a southeast thing if I had to guess. Bag number 1, that's right, time to start our Monkie Kid journey right here. Man, Monkie Kid is my favorite theme going. It really is my absolute favorite theme, and it's weird to me that this is the first time I've live streamed building one of the Monkie Kid sets. At least I think it is. I don't remember putting together a Monkie Kid set on camera so far. I did a review of the Galactic Explorer spaceship, but I've never done a live stream of a Monkie Kid set. Like I said, that's a little surprising to me, because Monkie Kid, like I said, I think it's the best right now, man. Like, you cannot beat Monkie Kid. And here's what I think is going to happen, and I think this is so unfortunate. Because Monkie Kid is a theme that is designed for the Chinese market, And by the way, if you don't know what Monkey Kid is, it's basically a sequel to the Journey to the West, the Chinese, the old Chinese like novel that's centuries old, that Dragon Ball was, sort of partially based on, especially the original Dragon Ball series. Dragon Ball Z kind of goes in a different direction, but that's what this is based on. It's like a sequel that happens, years and years and years later, as if it was happening in real time. And it's all about how the main character from that story, which is the Monkey King, how he trains a new character, like his apprentice, who is this young Chinese boy, to kind of take his place. And that's who the Monkey Kid is. He's basically this kid that Sun Wukong, or the Monkey King in the story, is training so that he can give him his staff and he can leave saving the world to him. Because I guess he decides it's time for this generation to have kind of its own hero. So I think it's a really novel concept. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's been a while since I've heard of any company doing something like this, where they decide to sequelize like a literary and historical classic. It's surprising that it would happen. But I think that's the reason why, and you might be wondering if you're not familiar with Monkey Kid, why haven't I seen this at Walmart? I don't remember seeing this. That's because it's not there. Monkey Kid is only on the Lego store, on the website and in store at Lego. And it's also at Amazon. And that's it. They've made an exclusive deal with Amazon to sell it. And I hate that. I really hate it. I was just talking with Brandon, the other guy on the channel, about this earlier. And we talked about what a shame it is that kids and parents, they can't just like discover Monkey Kid. Like, it's not the kind of, like, honestly, I think a whole lot of purchases, like Lego purchases, here in America, and well, I'd say most of the rest of the world, I don't really think they're planned like a lot of the time. I think some of them are, especially like birthday gifts and things, but I really don't think that most of these are like planned purchases. I think that a lot of the times the kid is at Walmart or Target or Meijer or Kroger, and it's like, okay, you can get one of these sets, and the parents and the kids, I think they discover the sets like together on impulse, like they're looking through, and that's how they get them. And because Monkey Kid is just not available that way, I think it's going to rob a whole lot of kids and a whole lot of parents, and maybe they're thankful they won't have another Lego theme to worry about. But I do think it's going to keep them from being able to enjoy this, and that is such a shame. Because like I said, Monkey Kid, this is the most inventive theme. I'm telling you right now. And if you don't believe me, stick around. I promise. You stick around with me on this live stream as we go through what looks to be, I mean, this could be, from everything I've seen online, this could be right up there with legendary Flower Fruit Mountain. This could be right up there with the Monkey King mech. And if none of those ring a bell for you, Google search those, and you will see what I mean. I'm talking about some of the most epic sets that Lego have ever released. The designers for Monkey Kid are just firing on all cylinders. I think it's just on another level. And I don't really know exactly what it is that is inspiring such passion when it comes to Monkey Kid. It might be one of those deals where there's just, the designers realize that this is just so special and that there's a lot of passion for it. Maybe they all realize that they're onto something with this, and it's just, the top of the top, and it's really a fantastic theme. Maybe that's it, but something is going on with these Monkey Kid sets. Could it be that a lot of the passion, some of the passion, is inspired by wanting to break into that Chinese market that's so lucrative, and so many companies are attempting to, and keeping all geopolitical opinions aside, that could, I think, inspire a lot of fervor at a company to put your best foot forward, because, let's not be taking all politics out of it. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a foothold in the Chinese market? It's a very lucrative market. You're going to make a lot of money. And Lego, from what I understand, market tests everything really strongly. Clearly, it didn't help them with something like Lego Video, which I've been enjoying picking up those sets on clearance because they're just cool looking minifigs. I've never even downloaded that app, doubt I ever will. But but for this, I have a feeling that they were able to do some Asian market, Eastern market testing to figure out, okay, what could we do that would be a big, get. It would be a big appealing thing for people who live in that market. I have a feeling that their research shown them that Journey to the West is just it's just the cultural vernacular in the East. It is a story, and all the research I've done on it, it's the kind of story that everybody sort of knows. Like everyone has a level of familiarity with it to the point to where it's almost like, and I don't know if it's exactly the same because I'm no expert. And, maybe somebody's watching that lives in, an Eastern country and can tell us if I'm right on with this. But it's almost like us in the West being able to recognize like a Robin Hood trope or a Three Little Bears or something like that. Like it's a type of storytelling that's just ingrained in their culture. And if that's the case, I mean, Lego couldn't have picked something better when it comes to familiarity with, brand or getting the Chinese market on board. But I mean, it's just cool. We just built Monkey Kid back there, and we should definitely give that minifig his due because, this is the main character. You can see that he's in, I believe, like his noodle delivery outfit. He's kind of a noodle boy in the cartoon, which is excellent, by the way. The cartoon is fantastic. And he does have an alternate expression right there. But I'm liking this because I don't think we have ever seen this with a Monkey Kid face print before. It's him in his cool glasses. So he looks like he's got some wraparounds there. And it looks like he's got a little map. And in this series, this latest series of Monkey Kid sets, you can see that there's these fire rings that they're going after. And all the sets have a few different fire rings or one fire ring, and it's like you're trying to collect them, I guess. So we'll just see what happens with that. I really have no idea how many of those fire rings are in there. Longtime viewers of these streams know that I am not the biggest person in the world for doing a tremendous amount of research when it comes to these sets. Like, I want to know that it appeals to me. And as soon as I know that it appeals to me and it's something I'm interested in, I kind of let go of doing a whole lot of the research because I don't want to be an expert on every little detail of the build before I build it, because that seems kind of sucky. It's not something I want, because I feel like the building of it should be an experience. I think that you should kind of discover the build as you go. So that's definitely what we're going to do. You can't tell me that I don't run with Brandon one of the most eclectic toy channels around, because by golly, Fanboys Forever were as eclectic as it gets. Yesterday, I uploaded a Ninja Turtles review. Today, I uploaded a Masters of the Universe news video. And this evening, I am building a Chinese Lego set. So you can't say we're not doing just a little bit of everything. But honestly, this channel, and me and Brandon have both felt this way for a long time. We're very eclectic when it comes to our interests. It's very broad, like all the different things that we're into. So to me, the channel has always just been an extension of what we do, what we like. So, I mean, there's your explanation. That's why I'm putting together a Chinese Lego set. So this is Pigsy right here in the sous chef outfit, the chef outfit. And I love Pigsy because this head, I mean, I think we all love getting those fully sculpted, 100% new tooling Lego heads. And it's the kind of thing, we're going to be getting these kinds of heads with the Muppets sets that are coming out, where they're doing the Muppet minifigure series. We got these kinds of heads when it come to the Looney Tunes series. Excuse me. I've been playing out in the snow today, so maybe I'm giving myself a little bit of a cold. But I think we all love it when we just get these like cartoon heads, and that is so cool. Have you guys seen the Muppets CMF, the collectible minifigure series? Have you seen the leaked pictures? If you haven't, I want you to do yourself a favor right now. And yes, I fully condone leaks of any kind when it comes to Lego sets. None of that matters. But go ahead and Google some of those pictures. Just put in Muppets CMF, and oh my gosh, they look fantastic. I am so excited. You see, somebody was able to get a picture, I guess, at a factory of the wrapper being built, like the thing that's actually going to go, that's actually going to package the stuff. And you can see a picture on there, Fozzie and Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, and there's several others in that series. But I am so excited. I really am. I got nothing but excitement for that. Looney Tunes didn't excite me that much, and that's a-okay because I'm not the world's biggest Looney Tunes fans. I love the Looney Tunes, but it's not something that I don't suppose I carried that particular fascination with me into adulthood. Like I see the Looney Tunes now, I'm like, okay, cool, it's Looney Tunes, yeah, they're great. I'm not a Looney Tunes hater, but it wasn't as big a deal to me when they came out with that collectible minifigure series. I was just like, okay, this is really neat. All right. But it's not something I had to rush out and get. Honestly, collectible minifigure series, the CMFs, they stress me out completely. I don't know if you guys are like this. I can't stand to like rebuy something or get duplicates of something or just be wasteful. So I'm the guy who's like feeling the bags obsessively that they're probably calling security on at Walmart, because I am trying to make sure I don't get a duplicate when I get those CMF series bags. I honestly wish Lego would just sell a little set, and say, hey, here's all of them together in one set. You can get it all in one swoop, and you're done. Would any of you guys be interested in that as well? Are you like me? Do you feel that Lego really just needs to, especially for the adult fans, for kids, I understand that it's like, oh yeah, I get a, take a chance, it's a surprise, whatever you get. Kids love all that surprise stuff. But for adults, I think it's just more like, I just want one of each, thank you. But I know then that they wouldn't be able to make all that extra money from people buying extras accidentally. And so, there's positives and negatives to it, I guess. I guess that helps drive the profits to get the stuff made in the first place, but that is such a capitalistic kind of view of the whole thing. But hey, companies, they exist to make money. There's nothing evil about that necessarily. I think you can go about that money making in a good way and a bad way. So I'm not saying that it can't be evil, because it can be. But I think Lego is probably less evil than a lot of the big toy companies. I could be wrong, but they always seem to be a little more conscientious about things, especially with their customer service and things, which is second to none. No toy company beats their customer service. Okay, so we've got Pigsy's little mini build, like his rig built on here. And he's got a bullhorn, looks like, some binoculars, and some hilarious condiments. And he's got a frying pan and a pot right over here. This is hilarious. So he's like geared up. I guess he can like do like a hibachi chef deal no matter where he goes. That's great. And you just have to love the printed facial expression and the nose holes and all that there. It just gives him a lot of personality. And while we're building his accessory, I suppose it would be fun to talk about Pigsy, because this is actually a character that carries over from Journey to the West. You see, Monkey Kid is made up of characters like this, the actual Monkey Kid, and they're new or they're young and they're not from the original story. But then there's characters that are either supposed to be those characters or more than likely like descendants of those characters. And Pigsy is one of those where he's a descendant. Or the original. I was never 100% clear on that. Maybe somebody watching who is a intense Monkey Kid expert, Journey to the West expert, maybe you know, but I don't. So I'm not above admitting that I don't know something. Anyway, though, it's like a mix of that. And so you got Pigsy, and then Sandy is also, supposed to be an original character from the novel. In the original novel, Pigsy here, he always represents like all the vices of humanity. Anytime he appears, he's always the one that's like, he represents any kind of human immorality. So much so that he gets turned into a pig. And it's kind of like Oolong in Dragon Ball, and as I said, Dragon Ball, if you don't believe me by now, is indeed an adaptation of Journey to the West. Oolong, the pig, is supposed to be like Pigsy. And so with that, he's the one that ends up chasing after women and eating too much and cheating and lying and stealing and all of that. And he's usually like kind of a comic relief character, which is funny to think of like a novel that is ancient, like it's hundreds and hundreds of years old, having elements like that in it to make the reader laugh. But he's also supposed to, like his function is he's kind of a moral warning about bad behavior and about acting the right way. And China at that time in history, especially, definitely had a legalist kind of morality to it that was really enforced at every level. At least that's what I understand from my research. So the Journey to the West is kind of, it's kind of reinforcing some of those cultural ideas that are present in Chinese culture, I think. But who knows? Maybe I have it wrong. I am no Eastern culture expert, but it is something that I've tried to learn a little bit more about, and I've become increasingly interested in it as I've gotten older. So maybe these sets are tailor-made for me, but honestly, I think that most kids, if they saw these out and just thought this looks like a cool Lego set, I don't think most kids would even care about not knowing exactly what it's from or exactly what all the references are or who all the characters are. I really think a whole lot of, young kids' Lego purchases. And I don't have any kids, so I can't say for sure, but just from what I observe from my friends and things that do, I think a whole lot of those purchases are made because it's kind of like an impulse thing. Like the kid thinks it's just cool, or it looks neat, or gee, that's a cool car. That's why I think a lot of kids buy Lego sets. It's a shame that they really, at least I don't think, the Lego company's shown a tremendous amount of faith in the Monkey Kid brand in the United States. Or it could just be that, maybe the retailers didn't have a lot of faith in it. Maybe they presented it to Walmart and other retail partners, and they just kind of looked at it and were like, yeah, I don't think this is for us. So I get that. And especially, you're going to introduce an entire range of product about a foreign country's folklore that isn't especially familiar in the United States. I understand where there could be a little bit of a problem where it's like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not this time, bucko. Or, I don't know, though. I always say that people don't give kids enough credit when it comes to what they're into or what they're willing to buy or what they're willing to understand. And I heard somebody say this one time, and I thought about it, and I thought, they're actually right. And they said they were talking about pushing their kids to learn different things. And they said, well, if my kid can memorize 100 and some or 250 different Pokemon names and what they are and their histories and all that, then they can do a whole lot more than we're giving them credit for. They're a lot more intelligent, a lot more complex than we're giving them credit for. And I agree with that. I think kids, I don't think you should just assume that kids can't comprehend some kind of out there concepts. And I think Monkey Kid is sort of out there. And also, don't assume that kids aren't completely visual, because a lot of the times they are. They're kids are very visual. And different kids are, they're different on that particular facet there. But I think Monkey Kid is an incredibly visual theme. Funny story about Monkey Kid, man. If you like Monkey Kid, you came to the right stream, because you're going to hear me just talk about every facet of Monkey Kid. You'll start calling me the long-winded Lego maniac. How about that? Anyway, though, funny story. I was a big devotee of the Hidden Side theme. If you don't know what Hidden Side is, it was Lego's kind of, I think it was their attempt at maybe possibly looking into an evergreen horror theme aimed at kids and also getting into that augmented reality market, which Lego is desperately trying to crack. If there's one thing as a company that it seems like they're trying to do more than anything, it's trying to find a way to make AR like a big success for them. I'm not sure if they should be focusing on it as much as they do, because I think they're drawing resources away from other things that they should be focusing on in the company. But I was a big devotee of that. Well, I'll never forget when the Lego catalog came in the mail, which, I get those, and I think a lot of us do, who are signed up for the emails and all that, or in the Lego VIP thing. And they had all the Monkey Kid sets, not these new ones, but the original first wave. And I remember not even really looking at it all that much at all, because I was angry. I was salty. And the whole reason was that at that time, Monkey Kid Hidden Side, it hadn't been confirmed yet, but it was pretty well a given that the theme was over. I think there was a few, I think the last wave with the Mystery Castle and all that was just coming out. And everybody saw the writing on the wall. And Lego, they don't like to announce the end of a theme. Usually the only way that anybody ever even knows that a theme has ended is somebody will they'll email Lego customer service or something and ask about it. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, we love this theme, but right now we need to focus on blah, 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 blah. We hope you enjoy these sets. It's always something like that. There's never people who aren't into Lego. I think they have some misconceptions about that. I think that there's a feeling that there's like a big grand announcement that a theme is just going away. Well, companies don't like to announce that something has failed or not. It's not sold enough to continue. So they kind of want to keep it. They want to sort of transition away without you like actively knowing, or the average consumer actively knowing, ooh, that one must not have done well, so we're ending it. Instead, they were just kind of, letting it fade. And I remember looking in the Lego catalog and thinking, look at this. I thought, this is clearly, this is what they're going to replace my beloved Hidden Side with. No way. And I wouldn't even look at it. Little did I know that those sets I was looking at, they were never, ever going to be in a Walmart, or they were never going to be at a Target. It turned out I wasn't at all looking at the replacement. I thought for sure, I was like, yeah, this is their new boys action theme. They're going to push this thing and, whatever. I was kind of salty about the whole deal. But nope. Turned out that was not the thing. This is something else completely different. Matter of fact, we're sort of even lucky that it came around at all to America, because this is kind of it is so Chinese flavored, this whole thing, that I'm surprised it even came out here. It's honestly a great thing that they were able to bring it out here. However, if I was a designer who worked on this, I couldn't help but be a little thrown off by that. I think I would want my sets, my theme, to have as big a chance as Ninjago. And let's not kid ourselves. I know that this isn't Ninjago right here. Ninjago was kind of a lightning in a bottle. You know, maybe it'll never happen again. I don't know. But I kind of missed the whole Ninjago thing. I was kind of too old for Ninjago to appeal to me as much as it does. I think a lot of younger fans, and that's fine. I don't stress over having not been really into Ninjago. I've thought about it a couple times. I thought, hey, maybe I should be paying more attention to these sets. I have bought like 2 Ninjago sets because, and those were the ones that just came out that were like the deep sea, like the underwater. And the whole reason there was because I wanted it to go with the Lego Atlantis stuff that I had. There's a theme that I came to really late, but that's another story, maybe for another live stream. But yeah, it's a Monkie Kid, though. Didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until I started, and this is the power of YouTube. And I think that Lego should be wise to, and they do pretty well about this, understanding like the absolute strong influence of YouTube, not just on kids, because I think we all know a lot of kids probably spend way too much time on YouTube, but strong effect on adults as well. If you're like me, you kind of rely on video reviews of things to see what you're going to be interested in, especially when it comes to toy collecting, because truth is you don't really know until you watch like a video of somebody handling something with their own hands. Handling something with their own hands. There had to have been a better way for me to have said that. There had to have been. But yeah, watching somebody actually like physically interact with something, that gives you the best idea of all of what you're going to be spending your money on. And I started noticing that there was a tremendous amount of traction all of a sudden with these Monkie Kid sets. And I thought, isn't that weird theme that I happened to, eschew when I was looking through the Lego catalog? And yeah, it was. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that I'd made a critical error in not paying any attention to it. I think the thing that got me, well, there's 2 components that got me hooked, and I mean absolutely hooked, on Monkie Kid. One of them was I watched I think it might have been Jang, who's, the king of Lego YouTube. Jang, I think, he was putting together the big Monkey King mech, and just talking about how revolutionary the set was. And, which it was. I just built it the other day, finally, after having it for months and months and months. And it, and just what an impact it had made on him. And I watched that and I thought, gee, really? And I was just floored. And then the other element of it that really came together for me was the mini buildings that we've been talking about. It's those mini buildings that they came up with a new kind of streamlined little mini way of doing, almost like a Lego village with interiors. And as a big like diorama builder, like those are the sets that appeal to me. Vehicles every now and then, but I'm more about mechs and buildings. I like for there to be like buildings, like actual play areas. Like that's what I like from a Lego set. Well, this was kind of specializing in those both, so it was an instant, jumps out at me, majorly appealing to me kind of thing. Especially those mini buildings were just really hooking me, and I thought, man, these are great. And then, soon thereafter, they announced that second part of the first wave, or the second wave, whatever you want to call it. And they showed the legendary Flower Fruit Mountain, which I built. And, man, that is a beautiful, beautiful set. Kind of partially based on some Chinese paintings. Kind of a lot of mountains and clouds, and has all sorts of little play features and little storytelling bits in it. And it was just exactly the kind of set like you dream of, the kind of set that you can't even believe exists. And I'll tell you, I mean this isn't demeaning at all, what I'm about to say, and it certainly, I hope nobody thinks it is. But the legendary Flower Fruit Mountain set, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just, Google it sometime. It reminds me almost of those paintings or those photographs that you'll see of Asian mountains and islands in Chinese restaurants sometimes. And there's kind of a mystical quality to that kind of photography and that kind of art. I think we've all seen these kinds of art pieces. And to have a Lego set, it's really fun. It's not meant to be, the Lego, what's it called, architecture or something. I Those sets are fine, but they're not really my thing. Like, I don't really care for that scale, and a lot of the times I don't even care for that style. I want things to be minifig scaled. So having something that replicates something so pretty, something so nice in a minifig scale with all sorts of play features and interiors and just great minifigs, and then having it all anchored by this really strong kind of Eastern folklore, it just instantly appealed to me. And being a huge Dragon Ball fan, like for most of my life, I think that there was some Dragon Ball DNA that was kind of leading me to Monkey Kid, which it's a funny thing to say, but you sort of can't help yourself, especially when you've got, say, Sean Schimmel, who has played Goku since I was, a very young teenager, playing the Monkey King's voice in the cartoon that they've done. Once I realized that, I thought, man, whether they were trying or not, they're attempting. They've got me targeted. I am kind of gravitating towards this. Monkey Kid is kind of its own vibe. It really is for adult collectors. It's it feels like something that has always been there, but it's not. It feels like it's always been a part of Lego history of some sort. But it's kind of its own thing. I think it's an original idea, yet it's based on something that's pretty universal, and there's not much of that going around these days. And don't you just like seeing companies take chances sometimes, like do something that's really outside the box, something that probably shouldn't work, something that they probably shouldn't even try? But that's what I like. I want to see companies try something experimental. I don't want just infinite numbers of Ninjago over and over and over again. And that's something that fans, and especially on the YouTube Lego community, and I've seen this with the AFOL, the adult fans of Lego communities, for a long time, is you've got fans who are saying, hey, I don't want Lego to just keep focusing just again and again and again on Ninjago, and that's it. And I think this is legitimate. Sometimes I think, some of these fan concerns are just stupid, but no, this one's pretty legitimate because I've seen it work out to be true again and again. What seems to be happening is that instead of doing a bunch of different themes and just trying all sorts of different stuff and seeing what sticks, which is what Lego used to do, believe it or not. It's hard to believe there was a time like that, but they certainly did. Instead of doing that, it almost feels like Lego just puts everything in Ninjago. And I'm not crapping on Ninjago. Ninjago is an awesome theme, and it's earned its keep and has kept Lego going for years and years and years. So no, I'm not hating on Ninjago at all, because it's an incredible theme and it's versatile, and that's why Lego's doing it. And they'll always sell more of a set if it's Ninjago branded, I guess. So if you're telling me that you're going to complain about that, yet you don't want to support a hidden side, or you don't want to support a Monkey Kid, then that's hypocritical to me, because this is Lego giving you a chance, and this sounds, I'm not stupid enough to think that, oh, wow, you have the chance to buy this multi-billion dollars products, you should take, no, that's not what I mean. I'm just saying that if you feel like that, it should be more diverse, or Lego should do more original themes, then maybe you should just vote with your wallet. That's all I'm saying. Vote by buying what you believe in and ignoring the rest. If you're like me and Ninjago doesn't really do much for you, then goodness gracious, let the kids buy it. Let them have fun with it, because that is pretty, that's a lot of what Ninjago is for. Ninjago is meant to make the kids happy. And that is cool. And that's the purpose of Ninjago is, we're looking at a younger kids Lego sets. They can also be enjoyed by adults. But for me, that is how I interpret it, is that it's supposed to be this kind of catch-all boys theme that they do. And that's what it is. It's catch-all. Everything you can imagine Ninjago does, they put it under that one umbrella. Well, then like I said, you just got to let that be, and definitely, and definitely support what you believe in. And to me, there's no finer example of doing that than going for these Monkey Kid sets. Because by golly, these Monkey Kid sets are fantastic. You can't beat the quality and the design. Because, oh man, talk about a great design. These sets are just beautiful. And you'll see what I mean here pretty soon when we get this thing together. And what I'm anxious about is anybody who's watching the stream who doesn't know a thing about Monkey Kid, and you are here to see, hey, what's the fuss about this? That's the purpose that I want this stream to serve. I want you to be here to see it come together and to see why it's special and to see why it's cool. And I don't know, but I am guessing, and I'd say it's a pretty good guess, that this City of Lanterns set is probably going to be the one that makes a believer out of a lot of people, because Monkey Kid is doing something kind of funny. And like I said, I don't want to compare it to Ninjago too much. And I don't think that Monkey Kid will ever be as popular as Ninjago. I think there's only one Ninjago. But I will say that Monkey Kid is doing something that I haven't seen since Ninjago. And here's what it is. The first few waves of Ninjago were fairly popular. Like they were, they are what they are. And they were, they were pretty good sellers and kids liked Ninjago. But it wasn't until a little bit later, after a few waves of it, by year 3 or 4, that Ninjago, it's becoming clear that there's more to it than it just being kind of popular. And hey, I remember I've watched some videos about it, and apparently there was a lot of angry letters when Lego, it looked like they were going to just move on to another theme after Ninjago, and people were demanding that they continue it. I don't know if the kind of passion, I don't think it does exist for Monkey Kid, but I am seeing that Monkey Kid as a theme appears to be more successful and more critically lauded now with the latest wave than it was at the beginning. I think at the beginning it was too small of a thing, and that there weren't enough people who were actively into it and talking about it. But I think that with every wave it grew. I think there was one kind of slump wave that it was in, to where and this happens a lot with themes. Usually a really good, positive new theme comes out, and it goes through a sophomore slump, which is a very real thing with Lego sets, especially. Sophomore slump is very real. I'll tell you, that happened with the Monkey Kid sets, where they were just kind of, the sophomore sets were kind of overpriced. They weren't very original. They were just like a bunch of vehicle sets, and there was a couple of things, but there wasn't. It wasn't very exciting aside from the mini buildings for that second wave, and there wasn't even much of the mini buildings with those. But when they finally got it back together, I mean, man, did they get it back together. People have to realize that it takes a little while for criticisms and for feedback, for response to actually be integrated into a product. It's not just going to happen overnight. There's going to be a little bit there's going to be a little bit of a kind of an R&D sort of moment. Like there's going to be some time in between that you need to develop your products and redevelop your products and integrate some of that feedback into it. And I think that now you finally got where Lego is finally starting to integrate feedback into the actual sets themselves. And it's a magical thing to watch, because now the Lego Monkey Kid sets are blossoming. They are becoming more and more, I think all the time, they're becoming what people hoped they would be. And this latest wave, if they do a wave like this again, we're in for some good times, I think. We're finally starting to see the prices be a little more rational with Monkey Kid, and that was a big concern. Definitely the prices weren't quite what people had hoped for. Definitely the prices left something to be desired in those first couple of years. And I think they have been solving some of the problems with those prices. They figured out, and this is no slight to that Sandy Big Fig that was in so many sets, because people love their big figs. I do too, to an extent, but I always like more originally designed and more interesting regular minifigs than big figs. Big figs kind of just, they're appropriate sometimes, but then a lot of the times they lose a little something, I think, compared to the regular minifig. And they figured out that Sandy, that would be one way to decrease the price of a lot of these, is stop putting those Sandy big figs in there and have it just be a regular minifig. That was one solution to the issue. Another solution, it seems, is purposely trying to pack the piece count in there, trying to stack the piece count to where it's a little more reasonable for what you're getting. I think part of the thing, and I don't think many people have discussed this yet, but there is one element of this that I think has helped, and that's that there's now an American retail partner, not just the Lego store. Now you've got Amazon, and I think that the effect that has is that you're going to see the price decrease just a little bit. And I think that's why this kind of third year of sets, or second 2.5 year, or whatever you want to call this, I think that's why you're seeing the prices look a little bit better, a little bit more what we expect, a little bit more what we hope for. I think that's why you're seeing it. I think that it's catching up a little now. And just design-wise, we're seeing a lot more. We're seeing just better design sets. And let me get my lens cleaned off here. Whoa. But yeah, we're seeing better design sets. We're seeing more energetic builds. We're seeing more interesting characters. I don't know. It's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. All right, we're on to bag number 2. Like I said, for anybody watching, you may notice that it's a little different than it has been in the past for the style of the live stream here. I'm definitely focusing a little bit more on just having a good time. I think that this should just be more about fun. It should be less about stressing over trying to get something done or feeling like we're on a time limit or something like that. We are just going to be focusing on having fun with this live stream and just kind of talking. I think it'll just be more fun for everybody. So before we move on to bag number 2, I guess, this is Pigsy's little vehicle here. It's almost like a little hot air balloon in a way. But I do think it's funny that with this big backpack that, he's really having a hard time. You can kind of put him in like that. But we'll see more in the directions later, I think, about how he's supposed to be in this. I could have it wrong for the time being. But, yeah, you can still get him in there. But it's just kind of funny. He would be, like, facing this pole. But We'll look at that later when he's supposed to be integrated into the set. All right, bag number 2. Here we go. You know, Nexo Knights was a Lego theme that I really liked. Don't think Nexo Knights had much of an impact. I think kids like Nexo Knights, and you wait and see. Here in probably about 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, a lot of those guys who were kids during Nexo Knights, they're going to be coming up, and they're going to be the ones that have like extreme nostalgia for Nexo Knights. I'm serious. You wait and see, because people forget there was like Nexo Knights Halloween costumes and all this stuff. And I really, really, really liked the theme. At the time, I was really broke, so I couldn't keep up with Nexo Knights and couldn't actively buy it like I wanted to. I really wanted to. I wanted to be a Nexo Knights completist, but when you're in college and you're barely surviving, that's not really an option a lot of the time. You can't complete anything when you're like that. So, it was fun. I got a few of the sets, but I really, really liked it. Now, the thing is with Nexo Knights, that with that theme, it was good, but man, the sophomore slump hit Nexo Knights more than any other Lego theme I've ever seen in my life. And if you're not familiar with the second year of Nexo Knights product, it's something interesting to look up, because that first year was excellent. You had all this cool stuff in that first year. You had the Fortrex, which was like this rolling battle tank castle that could transform. And you had this incredible set called Jestro's Lair. And that was amazing. It was like this giant volcano that the evil jester clown lived in. And you had some really cool vehicle sets too, which were almost like doubling as big role play items, like role play like weapons. And the characters were riding in these vehicles that looked like their signature weapons, that were like a kid could hold them and use them to like fire it off. Like one of the characters used a bow, and it was like a bow and arrow type of thing. And it was just really cool. There was a lot of inventiveness. The colors were really nice. It was like futuristic medieval Power Rangers is the best way I can describe it. And everything about the sentence I just said, I love. So it was huge for me. But people didn't really take to it. I think that part of that is the medieval stuff it was kind of out of vogue, and they were trying to push that again. Ironically, it just wasn't what Lego fans wanted, I think, because I think that there was a lot of anger that Classic Castle had been essentially retired. Well, it had literally been retired. Classic Castle wasn't a thing at that point. And I think fans were used to having Lego do some kind of presence with Classic Castle. Like, Lego were constantly revising it and redoing it and having it in some form for all that time. But then with Nexo Knights, I think this was very purposeful too. They were like, okay, kids don't like castles anymore. We've done some market research, because like I said, Lego's big on that market research. And we think that kids will like it a lot more if it's like techno Power Ranger, like Knights. And I'm sure that checks out on paper. But it turned out that somebody liked Classic Castles, because there was a lot of resentment towards that theme. I think a lot of it was unfair. But getting back to my story, the second year were like these big... It was the villains that killed it. Absolutely killed it. The second year featured these gray and purple rock monsters. Big gray and purple rock monsters. And you may be thinking, yeah, sure, that sounds pretty cool. It didn't turn out that great. And the whole trouble of the whole thing, it's hard to believe that this is possible. Color scheme killed it. Color scheme killed it. All the cool stuff that they'd done in that first year with their builds, it worked because the Nexo Knights kind of had their primary colors, and it was kind of techy. Like I said, definitely tokusatsu, Power Rangers vibe going. And then all the villains were like magma. They were lava. And that, to me, worked visually. And I think it worked for kids, too, for the most part. But then year 2, introducing purple and gray as your scheme. Like this kind of gray and a bunch of purple pieces. And some blue every now and then. And then the minifigures of the bad guys weren't that interesting either. That was the death knell of the line. You can go back and look. A lot of those monsters have great designs. And because they put them in this kind of muted purple gray design, it just didn't look good. People, I think, talk a lot about kids and color recognition when it comes to products. But the truth is, and I've thought this for a long time, I think kids are just really acute at visual design more than even they're being aware that they're kind of processing that sort of information. So kids know what's cool. They can't, a lot of the time, young kids aren't able to explain to you why they know it looks cool, but they just know. And purple and gray magical rock monsters turned out maybe not the coolest thing. Maybe not the coolest. So it fell apart. Absolutely fell apart. I will always blame the purple and gray rock monsters. And some of the builds really lost steam. I mean, the truth is, I kind of think it's one of those deals where they went so hard on the first year on Nexo Knights that there wasn't any room for innovation when it came time to do something different. I think that they took most of their good ideas and used them in the first year of product. See, Monkey Kid didn't do that. It kind of felt like that in the second year a little bit, but they rebounded so hard so quickly that they were able to avoid most of that slump. There was a little bit of a slump, but they were able to very quickly course correct. Maybe part of that is due to better technology, maybe faster sales and product testing, and maybe it's a little easier to gauge what people like faster. Maybe. I'm just saying it's possible. I don't know if that's the case or not, but if it is, I mean, that's cool. Maybe that's part of the reason they were able to course correct as quickly as they could. Maybe with Nexo Knights, by the time they realized people really didn't like the new sets, that it was like way too late and they had already made a bazillion of them. Because here's the funny thing with Nexo Knights, the third year product, actually much better. They were fighting these, instead of big boring purple rock monsters, they fought these like computer virus ghosts that were trans green and black. And they were awesome looking. And it really, in all the main hero builds, they got like a gold, like drum lacquered gold put in them. And I'm a sucker for anything like that. They also fixed, they were doing all these like mini builds of these mechs. I don't know if you remember, a lot of these ended up at discount retailers like TJ Maxx and Marshalls and all that. But they did all these little like mini mechs for the theme. And they fixed those for the third year. They kind of made them more, I think, more what people wanted in the first place, but it was all too late. Originally, most original Lego themes are slated for 3 full years of product. And usually that breaks down into 2 waves per year. There's like 2 waves of product. But Nexo Knights was shorted half. So they ended up 5.5 waves. So like 2.5 years, which happens with, several Lego themes. You see it over and over again. I think that's what happened with, I think it was Exo Force. Is that what it was called? The mech suit theme. Whenever one's not doing as well as they would hope, they just kind of abbreviate it. They end it. It's a shame that last year was really getting stuff together with Nexo Knights. But you know what? I'm probably the only one who's worried about old Nexo Knights. I think most people were happy to see it die. Absolutely thrilled to see it go. I was not. But, like I said, I never could keep up with it anyway. Then you've got themes like Hidden Side. Hidden Side is a theme I think I think a lot of people loved Hidden Side. And honestly, I don't even think it really had much of a slump. A little bit of a sophomore slump. I think they focused on some vehicle sets that were problematic. But I don't think Lego ever thought Hidden Side was going to do much of anything, because it was essentially them trying to take a Halloween theme and keep it going. But once again, we have another sort of case of that last year product. I mean, they were going for broke. There was some excellent sets that really felt like foreshadowings of things and I'm sure it's a lot of the same guys positive about it. A lot of the same things that we would see happen with the Monkey Kid sets. Like a lot of it feels stylistically like really similar. A lot of the simplifications of vehicles and things and some of the diorama sort of looks to things definitely has that same feel. So I'm glad that there was some DNA shared. But, one thing I have learned is to not weep too hard for Lego themes that go away. Because honestly, Lego has become pretty adept at gauging when it's time to let something go. I always feel like the decision is pretty fair. Like, it never feels to me too much like, oh, why would you end this? Because it's obvious why it ends. I mean, the sales aren't there. And for Lego to just stay vital, you're going to have a tremendous amount of turnover. And what I don't mean employee turnover, what I mean is theme turnover. The guy who was in charge of Netflix a few years ago, I remember, used to on Netflix, they greenlit a ton of shows, and a lot of them got multiple seasons, and a lot of them found a lot of success and big audiences. And you didn't hear much about stuff getting canned. But he made this comment, and I didn't think he was serious because I couldn't understand what he meant. The guy running Netflix a few years ago was like, hey, he said, I think we're too successful with our shows, he said, and we're going to have to, he's like, we should be that shows that we're not taking enough chances with the kinds of programming we're doing, and we need to do a lot riskier types of projects, and we should have more shows get canceled, I think, he said something like that. And I thought, what on earth are you talking about? Well, I found out what he was talking about when they started greenlighting so much more stuff and then canceling so much more of it. And it was tremendous. It was tremendously irritating. And I think everybody now in the Western world has had some kind of experience, or most people have, with a streaming show on Netflix getting canned that you really liked or was really hoping for another season of. For me, it was that excellent space show about the journey to Mars called Away. That was superb. And then they canned it like a week or two after it came out. And I thought for sure that show was going to be like a mainstay, like a classic. Nope. Cowboy Bebop. A lot of people were disappointed, confused about why Cowboy Bebop was canceled. That was a really controversial show. It didn't have a great critical response. And so they canned it. Even though it spent some time in the top 10, it dropped off pretty quick. So I think that it's definitely, you're seeing kind of a time of experimentation. And even though I hope Lego never comes to the frequency of cancellations like, say, a Netflix or something like that, I do want them to push. I want them to kind of push out a little bit and not be complacent about what they do. It's a great thing to see them experiment. And I hope they continue to. Monkey Kid is a tremendous experiment. And, sales aren't very transparent in our home country, let alone in a foreign country. So, no, I don't expect to know what the sales figures look like in China. And this may just be bro talk on the internet. Who knows? But I think that what I'm reading is that it's doing well in China. Like it's a big part of their business there. Truth is, it could bomb here in America, and Lego Monkey Kid would probably just keep going in perpetuity if if it continues to sell in China, because I think that's the whole market. I think honestly, I'd go further and to say that's the whole purpose. So it doesn't matter if Monkey Kid doesn't do well here, if people don't get it, or if kids never see it. But I think it's a shame that it's not more prominent here, because people deserve a chance to discover it, I think. Our ancestors were obsessed with going to China because they were looking for silk and spices and gold and new technology and fireworks and you name it. And now we can pine over their Lego sets, their Chinese New Year Lego sets, their Monkey Kid Lego sets, just like our ancestors always knew we would. This looks like the Octan, the gas company, the Lego gas company. This looks like their colors right here, almost like an octane barrel of gas. Don't know if that's what this is meant to be. Maybe it's supposed to be a trash can or something. Not really sure. But still, it's kind of neat. Kind of neat. Plug that in down there. If it's not already obvious to you, at least I'm pretty sure that this is what we're building. We are building what I believe are like the supports for some of the buildings. And this is the street level down here. I can tell you that we're probably, I think as is appropriate, we're probably building the least exciting part. It's, and that's always the case. It's no surprise to anybody. You're building like the base that you're going to work on. And when we get into the buildings, I think that's going to be the real fun. That's going to be tremendous when we get to that part of the set. Okay. And I've made these before. This is, I think, supposed to be like a cardboard box or something. Or wait, not a cardboard box, gosh. It had the same color as one. But maybe a rock formation, I think, is what we're looking at. I'm just not sure. We're going to put it there for now. It'll probably become more clear as time goes on. It's down there beside of some like little vegetation, so maybe it is more of a little rock monument of some sort, or not really sure, but we'll find out, I imagine, shortly. Okay. Get those. So it looks like these are little ladders almost that we're putting on here. At least I think that's what we've got going on. And they're just going to plug in these little clamps and just lay down. Plug them in, lay them down. We've also got some smooth tiles here that we're going to lay, and they're going to act as steps leading up. Like I said, I think this is all in service to being kind of a base, like a display that you mount some of the buildings to. So I think that's going to be interesting to see it all come together. We're going to do several more of these steps. I think it calls for 6 of them, I think. One element, or one watermark of success that I'm seeing for this series is that this particular set, the City of Lanterns, went on back order almost quicker than any other set did on January 1st when they had their huge glut of new Lego sets. And that's pretty impressive, especially for something that's supposed to be so obscure. It's supposed to be more of like a specialty thing. Now, given that might actually mean that they just hadn't produced nearly as many of these sets. Maybe that's more what we're seeing with that, and I shouldn't be as impressed. But still, I don't care how many they made. That's a big feat when you're getting on back order so much quicker. Ooh, I really like this method. Do you see that? How they're just laying in there? That is fantastic. Look at that. It's a very satisfying way to build steps. At first, I thought we just had little ladders moving up, and I thought, really? Nope. Turned out it was just a mounting for these little clamps for your steps. And what's great is even though you can still move these like that, it's almost like you're going to a little hidden area down there. It's a hidden side. Oh, and one more. All right. Got those all mounted up. Okay. Couple little clamps here. All right. These are interesting. I'm not really sure. These might be like air units or something because of the little vents on them. At least that's my guess. We'll see what they really are. Something I love to do to myself on Lego live streams. I very much enjoy embarrassing myself with horrible guesses for what I'm building. It's become something of a hobby of mine, and it's something that only the finest Lego YouTubers can hope to do. It really proves that you know your stuff. Don't let anybody tell you any different. All right, got those. And these actually go on these little mounting poles on the side. Interestingly enough. And one over here. Not really sure what those are supposed to do just yet, but we'll find out as we go. Okay, as I suspected, these are going to go up. At least that's what the directions are saying. Oh, okay. So you have these big, long, like, poles here, and they're actually going to clamp down into this and plug in to the stud, like that. And then this one is going to be the same deal right here. And then I think that you just plug this then into that. And so this is already, I've not used any of these kinds of building methods ever when it comes to a city. So this is pretty out there. Yeah. Not really sure what's happening just yet. I guess we'll find out. All right. So this next step is a head scratcher. Basically, you're supposed to gather up 12 of these little mini Technic pins. Whoops, wrong thing. These. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I had $1 for every Technic pin I've handled in my life, I'd be a very rich man. And apparently this is going to go into this. Like you're going to have like a little tub full of these. It's always a hilarious direction when it's like, hey, throw this many pieces in here and just let them set. There they all are right there, just kind of chilling. Like I said, not 100% sure yet, but we'll definitely see as it goes. So we've got 12 in there. It's time for bag number 3, but I believe that it has gotten pretty late for a lot of our live streamers tonight. So we'll continue this a little later. And yeah, we'll get back together and keep on building on the City of Lanterns. I want to thank everybody who watched this evening and also who watches it later. Of course, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think of the City of Lanterns, how it's coming along so far, and which one of the new LEGO releases that you're the most excited for. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video if you can. All right, we sure do thank you guys for watching. God bless you and yours. Take care. I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.